I was setting the last platter of roasted chicken on the dining room table when my phone buzzed. A quick glance at the screen showed it was my husband, Ethan. He should have been at the law firm working late. "Hello?" I answered, wiping my hands on a dish towel as I hit the call button. "Harper, we need to talk." Ethan's voice was as calm as if he were discussing tomorrow's weather. "Next week on Wednesday, the whole family is heading to Palm Springs for a week. I've already booked the plane tickets and a vacation rental." My knuckles went white as I gripped the phone, a sudden familiar tightness clenching in my chest. This was the third time. My voice, eerily composed in the calm before the storm, came out sounding unnaturally placid. "The whole family, you say? Your parents, your brother Landon and his new girlfriend, your aunt and your cousin. That's 6 people." I forced a deliberately cheerful tone. "The rental you booked only has 3 bedrooms, and if there are too many of us, it'll be a hassle, so you don't have to come." I took a deep breath, my eyes scanning the meticulously prepared meal on the table. 2 main dishes and a soup, all of Ethan's favorites. Now all that food, along with my hopes for a quiet dinner together, was destined for the garbage. "Oh, I see. Well, you all have a wonderful time." My voice sounded like a distant echo. "I knew you'd understand, Harper. You're the most accommodating person I know." I could hear his sigh of relief. "Oh, and while I'm gone, don't forget to water the flowers in the garden, and my succulents." "Right, okay." I hung up, standing frozen in place. The phone screen went black, a light extinguishing inside my heart. The third time. 3 years of marriage, and not once had I been invited on their annual family trip. The first time, the excuse was that I had just had a miscarriage and a long trip would be too much for me. The second, my job was too demanding and it would be hard to take time off. This year, he hadn't even bothered with a convincing excuse. I began to clear the table mechanically, scraping the untouched food into the trash. Suddenly, my wrist trembled and a plate slipped from my hands, shattering on the floor. The shards scattered across the tile. How they looked so much like me at that moment. A marriage that seemed brilliant on the outside, yet crumbled at the slightest touch. My phone buzzed again. It was the family group chat, a message from my mother-in-law. "Guys, we're doing Palm Springs again this year. We leave Wednesday, so don't forget the sunscreen. They say it's going to be hot." A flurry of celebratory emojis followed. I stared at the words. The whole family. My eyes welled up with tears. To them, I wasn't family. I was just a stranger, an unpaid housekeeper. I pulled out a family photo from last year's trip to San Diego. Ethan had his arm around his brother Landon, my mother-in-law in a flashy sundress sat in the center, and my father-in-law, looking solemn, stood to the side. Next to them were his cousin and Landon's girlfriend at the time. All 7 of them were beaming with the blue ocean and palm trees in the background. That day, I was home alone with a high fever. I called Ethan and he told me, "Take some Tylenol and get some rest. You'll be fine. We're on a boat and the signal is bad. Gotta go." And he hung up. I sank to the floor, picking up the ceramic pieces one by one. I cut my finger and blood welled up, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the ache in my soul. My phone rang again. It was my best friend, Maya, on a video call. I quickly wiped my eyes, put on a fake smile, and answered, "Maya, you wouldn't believe the angry client who came into the salon today." Maya's voice stopped abruptly. She squinted, bringing her face closer to the screen. "What's wrong with you? Your eyes are all red." "Nothing. I was cutting an onion and they started stinging." I tried to smile, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Don't lie to me. You think I've known you for more than 10 years for nothing?" Maya's brow furrowed. "What did that jerk Ethan do this time?" Under her piercing gaze, my armor crumbled. In a few hushed words, I explained everything, my voice dropping to a whisper. "I feel like I'm the one being made fun of." "You? It's Ethan and his family who are making fools of themselves. Harper, wake up. These people don't see you as family." I fell silent. Deep down, I already knew it. I just didn't want to admit it. 3 years ago, at our stunning wedding, Ethan had knelt and promised me happiness. The image was still vivid in my mind. How had we gotten here in the blink of an eye? "Harper?" Maya's voice suddenly turned serious. "You remember you signed a prenup, right?" I nodded. It was a month before the wedding. Ethan had suddenly proposed a prenuptial agreement, claiming it was a family tradition. Although it made me uncomfortable, I signed to prove I wasn't after his money. The house is in your name, that's clear property, right? It was a wedding gift from my parents. We registered it as a separate asset only in my name. I frowned. Why do you ask? No reason, I just want you to take better care of yourself. Hey, since his family is going away next week, why don't you come and stay with me for a few days so you're not alone? I gently declined her offer. After we hung up, I stood by the living room window looking out at the manicured lawn Ethan had so carefully tended. We had bought this house when we got married. My parents paid the down payment, and I covered the renovation costs with the money I had saved over years of work. Ethan's family contributed a minimal amount, but they insisted his name be on the deed. The excuse was that a man needed to keep up appearances. The night wore on. I showered and got into bed like an automaton. Ethan wouldn't be home tonight either. He had to work late. For the past 6 months, his extra hours had become more frequent, and I had stopped asking questions. Lying there, staring at the ceiling, a thought crossed my mind. Did I really want to continue this marriage? For the past 3 years, I have striven to be a good wife and an exemplary daughter-in-law. I cared for my husband meticulously, and even put up with my brother-in-law's insolence. What had I received in return? The deliberate exclusion from the group chat, my husband's increasingly frequent absences, and an annual family trip I was always left out of. My phone lit up, a message from Ethan. Honey, you still awake? I'll be gone next week, so make sure to lock the door tight. Oh, and my mom wants you to buy her some gifts typical of Palm Springs. Buy some nice gift boxes tomorrow and get them ready for her. Reading the message, I started to laugh, laughing until I cried. That's it. This is really the end. How long do you plan to keep lying to yourself, Harper? I wiped my tears and sent a message to Maya. Are you free tomorrow? I need some legal advice now. The cold moon shone high in the sky. I knew some things were irreversible. The morning sun crept through the bedroom curtains. I opened my eyes, but the other side of the bed was still empty. Ethan, as expected, had not come home last night. It was the 7th time this month. I got up and opened the closet. My fingers brushed past countless dresses before stopping at an elegant pantsuit. I chose it on purpose today. Ethan always said dresses made me look like a model wife. I washed my face and looked at myself in the mirror. My 29-year-old face already showed profound exhaustion. The fine lines under my eyes and my dull skin were a testament to 3 years of a repressed life. I covered the traces of last night's crying with makeup. Ding dong, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Maya's signature short hair and sharp gaze. She was holding 2 coffees in a paper bag with the delicious smell of pastries. I knew you wouldn't have had breakfast. As soon as I opened the door, she put the food in my hands. I got you an Americano with a little milk and no sugar, and your favorite croissant. The rich aroma of the coffee comforted me. In this city, besides the barista, Maya was the only one who remembered my preferences. Ethan didn't even know I was allergic to peanuts. Last year at a family gathering, he insisted on serving me a salad full of nuts, saying it was delicious. Tell me, what kind of legal advice do you need? Maya took her laptop out of her bag and got straight to the point. I stirred my coffee and began to speak, weighing each word. If I wanted to get a divorce, how could I protect my rights? Maya's eyes lit up. Finally, you've come to your senses. She quickly opened several files. First, we need to clarify your financial situation. You said the house is in your name, right? Yes, it was a wedding gift from my parents. I registered it as my exclusive property. But after we got married, Ethan insisted on adding his name, for appearance sake, he said, and I, being a softie, agreed. I forced a bitter smile. Maya's forehead wrinkled. When was that? About 6 months after the wedding. He asked me every day. He said his coworkers' wives had done it and he was the only one who hadn't, and he was embarrassed at work. Maya's fingers flew across the keyboard. This is a bit complicated, but since it's a separate asset and you paid the down payment, that part and the appreciation belong to you. Who paid for the renovation? Mostly me, with the money I saved from work, about $70,000. Ethan's family contributed about $15,000. Do you have proof? Yes, I kept the renovation contract and all the receipts. Maya looked satisfied. The next thing is to gather evidence.
"Do you know exactly how much Ethan earns?" The question left me blank. Ethan's income. Since we got married, we'd each managed our own money. He had given me an approximate figure, but I had never asked for the details. He earns about $150,000 a year. He gives me $100 a month for household expenses. The rest we handle our own. Maya's eyebrows nearly met in the middle. What? You've been married for 3 years and you still have separate accounts? And you've been paying the mortgage on the house? My voice trailed off. Ethan said he had to invest his money and his parents were getting older, so he had to have a cushion for medical expenses. Harper, Maya slammed her hand on the table. Don't you realize they're scamming you? That's not a normal marriage. My eyes filled with tears again. Even to me, it sounded ridiculous. To others, I was the woman who lived in a luxurious house and drove a high-end car. But the reality was, I had to think twice before buying a decent coat. Meanwhile, Ethan had gifted his mother a $20,000 gold bracelet without a second thought. "We need to find out his financial situation," she said with a serious tone. "Do you have access to his computer or documents?" "The office is always locked. He says he has confidential client information." Suddenly, I remembered something. "But I have an emergency key. I could go in when he's not there." "Be careful, you can't let him find out," she warned me. "The most important things are bank statements, investment records, and," she paused, "do you have any proof of infidelity?" My heart skipped a beat. Infidelity, a possibility I had tried to ignore with all my might, was finally coming to the surface. After Maya left, I stood in front of the office door with the key in my hand. When we got married, we promised to respect each other's privacy. Because of that, I had never entered his personal space without permission. Today, I had to break that rule. The sound of the key in the lock seemed unnaturally loud. When I opened the door, a faint smell of men's cologne hit me. The office was impeccably tidy. The law books on the shelf were arranged by height, and there wasn't a speck of dust on the desk.
I checked the drawers. In the top one, a few unimportant work documents. In the middle one, several photo albums. I opened them at random. They only had pictures of Ethan and his family, with only a few of the two of us together. The bottom drawer was locked. That anomaly only increased my suspicions. Looking around, my eyes fell on a small safe behind the bookshelf. Ethan had bought it last year to store important documents. I tried our anniversary date. Error. His birthday. Error. Finally, I entered his mother's birthday. The safe opened with a click. Inside, there was a stack of well-organized documents. On top of everything, a copy of the property deed. My heart went cold as I opened it. It was the deed to my house, but under the owner section, it clearly stated Ethan Black and Harper Miller in a joint tenancy. I remembered perfectly that in the beginning, it was only about adding his name with a minority share. I continued searching and found several bank statements. The balance in Ethan's account stunned me. It wasn't the $150,000 he had told me. It was nearly $1.5 million. Furthermore, every month there were regular transfers of between $3,000 and $15,000 to a Natalie. At the bottom was an elegant velvet jewelry case. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside, a diamond necklace I had never seen in my life. The receipt said Tiffany's. The price exceeded $25,000. The purchase date was my birthday last year, but my gift had been a simple bouquet of flowers. Under the case was another photo. Ethan was hugging a young woman by a resort pool. They were wearing matching swimsuits and smiling radiantly. On the back, in my husband's handwriting, was a note, "To my love, Natalie, Palm Springs, August 2023. That was the exact week he had claimed to be on a business trip. My world came crashing down. All his extra hours, the successive absences, the inexplicable expenses, everything made sense. The vibration of my phone almost made me drop the photo. It was Ethan. "Honey, I won't make it for dinner tonight. I have a work dinner." I stared at the message and then looked at his profile picture on the messaging app. He was sitting in a luxurious restaurant. Reflected in the wine glass was a hand with red painted nails on the other side of the table. When I zoomed in on the image, the silhouettes of him and a long-haired woman could be seen in the window's reflection. In that moment, my mind became strangely clear. All my doubts and self-blame had found their answers. I wasn't paranoid or overly sensitive. I was just an idiot who was being cheated on. Calmly, I took pictures of all the evidence and sent them to Maya's encrypted email. Then I put everything back in its place. I closed the safe and left the office. At 10 at night, Ethan came home smelling of alcohol. Sitting on the living room sofa, I watched him with an empty gaze as he stumbled to take off his shoes. "Honey, you're still awake." He came over to kiss me, but I turned my head away. "You smell like perfume. I don't like it," I said in a flat voice. Ethan paused for a moment and then laughed. "It was for work, honey. It must have rubbed off on me a little. Those clients wear really strong cologne." "Oh, really?" I looked him directly in the eyes. "Is that Natalie a client, too?" Ethan's expression froze. His drunkenness seemed to vanish instantly. "What? What are you talking about?" "Nothing," I stood up. "It just occurred to me. You must be exhausted having to entertain that client so many times a month." Ethan's face went from red to white. "Harper, listen to me. I can explain." "You don't need to explain anything." I cut him off. "I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. I have to go buy those gift boxes for your mom tomorrow. You didn't forget, did you?" I turned around and went into the bedroom. Ethan was left alone in the living room with a completely bewildered expression. As I closed the door, I leaned against it. I heard his nervous footsteps outside and his voice whispering on the phone. He was undoubtedly calling Natalie to warn her. My phone lit up. A message from Maya. "Evidence received. With this, he's done. Come to the office tomorrow and we'll talk in detail, and this time listen to everything I say." I replied with an okay and deleted the conversation history. I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. My mind was strangely calm. The old Harper would have spent the night crying, but the one now just felt like laughing. Ethan carefully opened the door and lay down next to me as if nothing had happened. In the darkness, I could hear him deliberately holding his breath, pretending to be asleep. "Ethan," I broke the silence suddenly, "what resort are you going to in Palm Springs?" His body tensed visibly. "Just a normal resort, one that the company has a deal with." "Oh, really?" I chuckled. "It's not the Oasis Club again, is it? They say the private villas with pools are super expensive." Ethan sat up with a start. "Have you been spying on me?" "Spying?" I turned to look at him. The moonlight illuminated his face, twisted by panic and anger. "Compared to you cheating on me looking at your phone isn't a big deal, don't you think?" I got up and turned on the bedside lamp. 3 years of marriage with separate accounts. I've been an idiot serving your whole family, and it turns out you had someone else on the side. Ethan, you really don't disappoint me." Ethan's face turned pale. Suddenly, he grabbed a pillow and threw it with all his might against the wall. "Stop it! Do you think I did it because I wanted to? I'm sick of seeing that long face of yours every day when I come home. Natalie is 100 times more affectionate than you. She knows how to make a man happy." I watched his mad outburst in silence. Suddenly, it all seemed so ridiculous. This was the man I had defied my parents to marry? A coward who, after cheating, still had the audacity to blame others. "All right, let's get a divorce," I said lightly. "You can go with that Natalie, and I'll live my life in peace." "Divorce?" He burst out laughing as if it had heard the joke of the century. "In your dreams. Half of this house is mine. If you get a divorce, how are you going to live? Your measly salary won't even cover the mortgage." So, that was it. He had it all figured out. He was sure I would never dare to ask for a divorce. Seeing his smug face, I laughed. Well, we'll see. Ethan hadn't expected that reaction and was left speechless. I lay back down, turned off the light, and turned my back on him. I could feel his gaze of bewilderment and anger fixed on my back in the darkness. "Ethan," he finally said through clenched teeth, "don't you dare do anything stupid. I've had my eye on this house for a while. My brother Landon is getting married and he needs a place."
So, that was it. I closed my eyes, my nails digging into my palms. The whole family had planned this for a long time. They wanted to take from me, live in my house, and in the end, take it from me to give to my brother-in-law. Ethan started snoring. I didn't sleep a wink all night. At dawn, I got up quietly. I packed some essentials and important documents, and I left the house stealthily. The early morning air was exceptionally fresh. I took a deep breath and called Maya. Maya, I've decided. I'm going to get back everything that's mine. On the other end of the line, Maya's voice was full of determination. That's the spirit. I'll be waiting for you at the office. The war has begun.
I hung up and hailed a cab. In the rearview mirror, I watched the house where I had lived for 3 years get smaller and smaller. This time, I wasn't going to falter. Maya's office was on the 28th floor of a glass skyscraper in the downtown LA financial district. I sat in the meeting room. In front of me, Maya had printed out all the evidence. "The situation is worse than I thought," she said, adjusting her glasses. "According to these bank statements over the last 2 years, Ethan has transferred a total of $330,000 to that Natalie person. This is a clear act of dissipation of marital assets." I nodded in silence. My fingers unconsciously traced those cold numbers. $330,000, the equivalent of several years of my salary, and he had given it so easily to another woman. "But the most serious thing is this." Maya unfolded a stack of papers. "I checked Ethan's credit history. 3 months ago, he took out a loan for $800,000. The purpose? Home renovation. But you didn't have any recent renovation plans for your house, did you?" $800,000? I looked up in shock. He didn't say a word to me. "He wasn't going to tell you," Maya scoffed. "That money, 1 week after it entered his account, was transferred to Natalie in 5 installments. I think that scumbag bought that woman a house." My voice trembled. "Do you really think so?" "It's very likely," Maya nodded. "But that's not the most urgent problem. Look at this." She opened a digital file. It contained a transcript of Ethan's and his brother Landon's text messages. "I got this through a special channel," Maya explained. "It's difficult to use as direct evidence in a lawsuit, but it's enough for us to know what they were planning." "Bro, did you tell your wife about the mortgage on the house yet?" Landon had asked. "Not yet. I was planning to tell her after the trip. She's been a little weird lately. I think she suspects something with Natalie." "So what? We have to make a down payment for the condo my girlfriend and I saw next week." "Don't be in such a hurry. My name is on the deed to the house, too. Even if she objects, she can't do anything. If she gets difficult, I'll tell Mom to talk to her. She always listens to Mom." I stared at the screen, a rock crushing my chest. They had been planning to mortgage my house to buy my brother-in-law a condo for a long time. Legally, to get a mortgage on a jointly owned asset, the consent of just one of the owners is sometimes enough, Maya said seriously. "If they act first, you'll be in a very unfavorable situation." "Then what do? I clenched my fists. "Do I have to stand by and do nothing?" "Of course not." A sharp light gleamed in Maya's eyes. "We have to beat them to it. Your parents paid the down payment and you paid for most of the renovation. You have proof of everything. We can argue that Ethan is the main culprit in the breakdown of the marriage and request a new division of assets." I thought for a moment, and then something occurred to me. "Maya, what if I could prove that the joint tenancy deed was falsified by Ethan?" Maya's eyes lit up. "You have proof?" "I'm not sure, but I remember perfectly that in the beginning it was a tenancy in common. Also, the notary stamp and the signature on the deed in the safe looked a little different." "This could be our turning point," Maya exclaimed, hitting the table excitedly. "If we prove the deed was falsified, not only would the mortgage be void, but Ethan could face criminal charges." We laid out a general plan. First, I had to secretly gather more evidence. Second, we had to quickly verify the authenticity of the falsified deed. And finally, prepare the divorce petition. As I was leaving the office, Maya gave me a set of keys. "It's a small apartment I have. It's empty now. Stay there for a while. Don't go back to the house. A cornered Ethan could do anything."
I hugged her gratefully. As I exited the building, the sunlight was dazzling. My phone rang. It was a call from Ethan. I took a deep breath and answered. "Harper, where have you been?" Ethan's voice was filled with anger. "My mom just called me. She said you still haven't sent her the gift boxes. She needs them for tomorrow." I almost laughed. After everything that had happened, his first reaction was to scold me for not having run an errand for his mother. "I'm out. I have some things to take care of," I said calmly. "The boxes have been ordered. They'll be delivered directly to your mom's house this afternoon." Ethan seemed bewildered. He hadn't expected me to be so cooperative. "Oh, okay. Hey, about last night." "Last night?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "You were very drunk. You kept talking nonsense." There was a silence of a few seconds on the other end of the line. Yeah, I was very drunk. I don't remember anything. Anyway, when are you coming home?" "I think I'll be late. Something urgent came up at work. Don't wait up." I made up an excuse and hung up. I went straight to the county recorder's office. With a copy of the original deed and my ID, I was able to successfully view the property's historical records. Indeed, it was clearly stated there, tenancy in common Harper Miller 70%, Ethan Black 30%. However, the current deed indicated a 50-50 joint tenancy. That meant Ethan had falsified the document somehow. I held back my euphoria, immediately took a picture and sent it to Maya. Bingo, the jerk falsified the type of ownership. This time he's done for. "Great," replied Maya instantly. "Now you need to get the original of that falsified deed. It wouldn't be easy. Ethan would surely hide it carefully." I decided to take a risk and go back to the house one more time. At 4 p.m., I took advantage of Ethan being in a meeting at the office to go back. As soon as I opened the door, I knew something was wrong. The living room was in disarray, and the drawers of my vanity table were open wide. Someone had been looking for something. I went upstairs quietly. I heard a noise in the office. Through the crack in the door, I saw Ethan sweating profusely, rummaging through papers. He kept cursing under his breath. He had come home earlier than expected to look for the deed. I went back downstairs stealthily and closed the front door with a deliberate slam. "Honey, I'm home." From upstairs, there was a sound of surprise, followed by Ethan's voice trying to sound calm. "Oh, hi, honey. I was in the office looking for some papers." I went up and opened the office door. Ethan was standing by the desk, forcing a smile, but the beads of sweat on his forehead and his disheveled hair gave away his nervousness. "Why did you come back so early?" I asked, feigning concern. "Oh, there wasn't much to do at the office. Hey, have you seen the house deed? I need some documents to apply for a loan at work." Just as I expected. Inside, I smiled coldly, but on the outside, I put on a bewildered expression. "It's not in the safe?" Ethan said nervously. "I looked and it's not there. You didn't put it somewhere else, did you? Think carefully." I pretended to think and then said, "You know, last month the Homeowners Association asked us to update the owner information. I took it to make a copy and, of course, my mom has it. She said she wanted to see it, and I left it with her." Ethan's face went white as paper. "What? How could you give something so important to someone else?" "My mom is someone else?" I shot back. "Besides, my name is on the deed too. What's the problem with my own family having it?"
Ethan was speechless. A vein throbbed on his forehead. "Go get it right now. I need it urgently for work." "My mom left on a trip. She won't be back until next month," I said, blinking innocently. "Are you in such a hurry? Then get the loan with the condo you have in your name." Ethan had a small condo in his name as a separate asset that he rented out. Of course, he didn't want to touch his own property. "Forget it. I'll find another way," he snapped irritably. Suddenly, he remembered something. "Hey, do you really not remember anything I said last night? You said a lot of things. You talked about Natalie, about Palm Springs, about a necklace." I watched as his face hardened, and then I laughed. "I'm kidding. You didn't say anything. You slept like a log." Ethan's face, a picture of relief, was priceless. He came closer to hug me. "Honey, I've been so busy lately, and I've neglected you. When I get back from the trip, we'll spend some time together, just the two of us." I skillfully evaded his arms. "Hurry up and pack. You have an early flight tomorrow."
Ethan awkwardly withdrew his arms and went upstairs. Watching his back, I knew I had to keep up the charade. The most important thing now was to calm him down and buy myself some time. After dinner, Ethan got a call and rushed out, probably to meet Natalie and plan their strategy. I immediately searched the office thoroughly. Finally, on the highest shelf, inside a thick criminal law manual, I found the forged deed. I quickly photographed it as evidence and put it back in its place. As I was about to leave the office, an envelope in the desk drawer caught my attention. When I opened it, to my surprise, I found a drafted mortgage loan agreement. The appraisal of the house was $1,200,000, the loan amount $800,000, and the purpose, joint family investment. The most terrifying thing was that in the space for the borrower's signature, my signature had been forged very convincingly. It wasn't mine. Ethan had forged my signature. With trembling hands, I photographed all the evidence and carefully put them back where they belonged. Just as I was about to leave the office, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. "Harper," her voice was still arrogant. "The gift boxes are arriving tomorrow, right? They have to be the good ones with gold details. Don't mess it up." "Yes, Mom, don't worry. Everything is ready," I replied, repressing my nausea. She continued with her orders. "While we're on vacation, don't forget to water the plants at home once a week. Ethan's succulents are very expensive. Oh, and I have some pickles in the fridge that I made. They'll be ready next week, so take them out and put them in the sun to dry." I responded with monosyllabic reprise while looking at the clock. It was already 10 o'clock at night. Ethan still hadn't returned. I decided not to wait any longer. I packed some clothes and important documents and left the house for Maya's apartment. On the way, I called my parents and explained the situation in broad strokes. Contrary to what I expected, my dad didn't scold me for not listening to him. On the contrary, he said, "Honey, whatever decision you make, your family will always be on your side. We gave you that house. Don't let that man's family take it from you." On the other end of the line, I heard my mom crying. "My poor girl, how could you go through all this without telling us?" After I hung up, I finally broke down. I cried uncontrollably in the back seat of the taxi. I wasn't fighting alone. My pride had just prevented me from showing my vulnerability to my family. Maya's apartment was small but cozy. I took a hot shower and, lying in bed, reviewed my findings. Ethan's crimes were becoming more and more evident. Infidelity, concealment of assets, and falsification of documents and a signature on a contract. Any of them was enough for him to pay a high price in court. My phone lit up. A text from Ethan. "Honey, an unexpected business trip came up. I'll be gone for a few days. I'll meet the family directly in Palm Springs. We'll talk about the house when I get back." I smiled disdainfully and didn't reply. I went on Facebook and saw that Natalie had posted something new. "Thanks for coming. Best gift ever." The attached photo showed a Tiffany's bracelet and a man's hand. The watch on that man's wrist was the one I'd given Ethan for his birthday last year. Calmly, I took a screenshot, saved it, and turned off my phone. Tomorrow, the war would enter a new phase, and this time there would be no mercy. The morning light filtered through the thin curtains. When I opened my eyes, it took me a second to realize where I was. Maya's apartment was small, but I had slept better than I had in the last 3 years. I had 3 missed calls on my phone, all from Ethan, and a text message. "Why aren't you answering? I'm getting on the plane. Lock the front door." I smiled contemptuously and blocked his number and all his social profiles. I got up and opened the fridge. A workaholic, Maya's fridge was empty except for some water bottles and an expired yogurt. After showering, I made myself a coffee, turned on my laptop, and started planning. Last night, Maya had sent me a detailed list of actions. The first was to secure my personal assets. I logged into my online banking and checked all my accounts. Luckily, my salary was deposited into an account Ethan didn't know about. In the last 3 years, I had managed to save nearly $60,000. In our joint account, there were $35,000 in savings. In theory, we were each entitled to half. I smiled bitterly. Ethan had already sent his mistress more than $300,000. I called the bank and, citing possible suspicious activity, temporarily froze the joint account. This way, Ethan couldn't take out any money during his trip. The next thing was the most important, the house. Following Maya's advice, I had to report the deed as lost and quickly request a duplicate. But before that, I had to make sure Ethan couldn't interfere. My phone rang. It was my dad. "Honey, I talked to my old friend, the lawyer, Mr. Griffin. He has a lot of experience in real estate litigation. He says we have to sue Ethan for falsification of documents as soon as possible, and at the same time request an urgent restraining order." "Dad, I'm sorry I didn't listen to you." "What nonsense is that?" My dad's voice was firm. "The important thing now is that you get back what's yours. My mom and dad are coming to LA this afternoon. We'll stay at a hotel. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." When I hung up, my eyes felt moist. My parents would always be my refuge, and for an insignificant man, I had distanced myself from them for 3 years. After getting ready, I went directly to the county recorder's office. With a copy of the original deed and my ID, I successfully completed the lost deed reparation. The clerk informed me that the new deed would take about 7 business days to be issued. "If someone tries to mortgage the property with the reported deed, would it be valid?" I asked cautiously. The clerk shook his head. "Once the loss announcement is published, the previous deed loses its validity immediately. But if you're concerned about the security of your home, you can request a prohibition of disposition annotation. This way, no one will be able to make any transactions with that property for a while." That was exactly what I needed. I filled out the application immediately. In the reasons section, I clearly wrote, "Alleged falsification of documents by the co-owner." As I left the office, I sighed of relief. The house was safe for now. No matter how many banks Ethan went to with that falsified deed, he wouldn't get a single dollar.
My phone rang, an unknown number. When I answered, a voice introduced herself as the real estate agent from Sun Realty. "Is this Miss Harper Miller? I'm calling about the listing for your house. We have a buyer willing to pay $1,150,000. When can we meet to negotiate?" I was stunned. "Excuse me? I haven't put my house up for sale." On the other end of the line, the agent also seemed bewildered. "But a Mr. Ethan Black came in yesterday with the deed and a photocopy of your ID, saying you had both decided to put the house on the market." I felt my blood boil. Ethan, that scumbag, had gotten ahead of me. "Listen to me carefully, Miss Agent," I said, holding back my rage. "That listing is fraudulent. The deed has been reported as lost and a new one is being issued. If your agency proceeds with this transaction without following legal procedures, be prepared to receive a lawsuit from my lawyers." I hung up and immediately called Maya. When she heard about it, she was furious. "That Ethan is a complete jerk. Harper, we have to move faster." "What do I do now?" I asked. "He might have contacted other real estate agencies." "First, we need to notify all the major real estate agencies and banks that the house is in litigation. Second, we need to sue Ethan immediately for falsification of a public document and a signature. And finally," Maya paused, "what if you sell the house?" "Sell it?" The idea surprised me. I had put so much effort into that house, from the blueprints to choosing the materials. Every corner had my touch. But thinking about it, what was the point of living there, facing unpleasant memories every day? "I'll sell it," I said firmly, "but after I regain full ownership." "Good decision," Maya nodded. "Hey, your parents just arrived. Mr. Griffin wants to meet with us this afternoon." At 3 o'clock, I met with my parents and Mr. Griffin in a hotel meeting room. When my mom saw me, she hugged me tightly, her eyes teary. "You're so thin." Mr. Griffin was an intelligent-looking middle-aged man. He meticulously reviewed all the evidence I had collected, nodding constantly. "The evidence is very solid. Mr. Black's behavior clearly constitutes a crime of falsification of a private document and fraud. He could face up to 3 years in prison." "Prison?" I shook my head. "I just want to get a quick divorce and get my assets back. I don't want to take this to the criminal courts. Despite everything, it's been 3 years." Mr. Griffin understood my position and nodded. "Then we'll focus on the civil path. According to the civil code, the fact that Mr. Black has cohabitated with another person as if they were his spouse and has donated a large amount of money during the marriage is a serious cause for divorce.
In the division of assets, he could receive a smaller share or even nothing. We agreed on the legal strategy. First, we would request a restraining order to freeze Ethan's assets. Then, we would file the divorce petition requesting the redistribution of the house's ownership and compensation for the marital assets Ethan had dissipated. "There's one more problem," Mr. Griffin said, adjusting his glasses. "Do you know where Mr. Black is currently living? The court needs to notify him of the lawsuit." I opened my phone and went into the family group chat. Although I had the notifications silenced, I could see the photos they were uploading. The most recent one was a family photo on a beach in Palm Springs. Ethan was hugging Natalie by the waist, smiling radiantly. The caption read, "Family photo, only missing the daughter-in-law." My hands were trembling so much I could barely hold the phone. So that was it. Ethan's family trip was planned from the beginning to take Natalie, and I, his legal wife, had been completely excluded. "They're at the Oasis Club in Palm Springs," I said calmly, handing my phone to Mr. Griffin. The photo showed the time and location. Mr. Griffin photographed the evidence and asked me, "Miss Miller, when do you plan to retrieve your things from the house?" "I'm going to go get everything today," I said with determination. If Ethan dared to take his mistress on a trip, passing her off as his family, I no longer had to keep up appearances for him. When I returned to the house, I started systematically packing my belongings. The books from my college years in the office, the clothes and shoes from the walk-in closet, the dishes I had so carefully chosen in the kitchen. 3 years of marriage had accumulated a lot of things. As I was packing, the doorbell rang. Through the peer hole, I saw an unknown woman with a folder in her hand. "Is this the residence of Mr. Ethan Black? I'm an account manager from ABC Bank. Mr. Black asked me to pick up some documents." An employee from the bank. Ethan's reaction had been faster than I thought. I opened the door but didn't let her in. "What documents?" "Mr. Black told me you were already aware. The property deed to the house and your original ID." Her gaze scanned the inside of the house over my shoulder. I almost laughed out of anger. Ethan, from a distance, was sending a bank employee to my house to try and take the documents. "I'm sorry, but I don't know anything about that, and the deed isn't here." The woman looked bewildered. "But Mr. Black said—" "It doesn't matter what he told you," I interrupted. "I suggest you check the latest public notices from the county recorder's office. This house is currently in litigation, and any bank that grants a mortgage on this asset will have to face the legal consequences." Her expression changed and she left in a hurry. I closed the door and immediately sent an email to the credit departments of the major banks, officially informing them that the house was in litigation and any loan application on this asset would be void. At dusk, I finished packing all my belongings. The moving truck parked at the door. The movers began to load the boxes. I took one last look at the place I once called home. I didn't feel a single ounce of nostalgia. Wait, something occurred to me. I went back to the bedroom and took a small box from the nightstand. Inside were a pair of pearl earrings, the only keepsake I had left from my maternal grandmother. In 3 years, I hadn't worn them for fear of losing them. Now they were finally back with their rightful owner. I locked the front door with the key and handed it to the doorman of the community, informing him of my move. I asked that he handle any matters related to the house through my lawyer. The doorman had known me since the day I moved in. "Miss Miller, has something happened?" he asked hesitantly. "From now on, please call me Harper," I corrected him with a smile. "Thank you for everything, sir." I drove to the hotel where my parents were staying. I felt lighter than I had in a long time. On the way, I received a text from Maya. "Restraining order granted. All bank accounts in Ethan's name have been frozen. We've also published the notice of the lost deed. It's now legally effective." I thanked her and called my parents. On the other end of the line was my old college roommate from London, now a senior executive in a multinational company. "Harper, it's been a while." Isla's voice sounded full of energy. "Hey, is that position you mentioned in the Singapore office still open?" I looked at the road ahead and asked in a firm voice, "I think I need a new beginning." A week later, I was sitting in Mr. Griffin's office reviewing the newly drafted divorce petition. The document detailed the serious reasons attributable to Ethan: cohabitation with another person, falsification of documents, dissipation of marital assets. Each point was backed by solid evidence. The court has accepted the petition. The notification will be sent urgently to the hotel in Palm Springs where Mr. Black is staying. Mr. Griffin handed me another stack of papers. This is the restraining order. All bank accounts, stocks, and real estate in Mr. Black's name have been seized.
I nodded and turned to the last page. Ethan's reaction was more violent than I had imagined. The same day he received the court notification, he tried to fly back from Palm Springs, but with his credit cards blocked, he couldn't even buy a plane ticket. In the end, he had to ask his brother for money. "He should be in LA by now," Mr. Griffin warned me. "Do you think you need to lay low for a while?" "No," I shook my head. "The time has come for me to face him face to face." Just as I finished speaking, my phone started ringing frantically. Ethan's name flashed on the screen. It was the 10th number he had used since I blocked him. I pressed the call button and put him on speakerphone. "Harper, have you gone crazy?" Ethan's yell echoed in the office. "How dare you sue me and freeze my accounts?" "Mr. Black," I said calmly, "I ask you to watch your words. My lawyer is recording this conversation." There was a noticeable pause on the other end. Then his tone softened. "Harper, honey, do we really have to do this? We can sit down and talk things out calmly." I smiled disdainfully. "When you forged the deed and my signature on the mortgage contract, why didn't you think to talk to me about it? When you took your mistress on a trip, passing her off as your family, why didn't you think to talk?" "It's all a misunderstanding," Ethan hurried to explain. "Natalie is just a distant cousin. The family photo was a joke, and the deed could have been a mistake by the county clerk. We can go and correct it." "Mr. Black," I cut off his clumsy lies, "I'll see you in court," and I hung up. Mr. Griffin nodded in approval. "Well handled. Now he'll go all in. We need to be prepared." Indeed, less than half an hour later, I received an urgent message from Maya. Ethan went to the house with his parents. They're at the doorman's booth making a scene to get him to change the lock. Mr. Griffin and I headed there immediately. From a distance, we could already hear my mother-in-law's shrill voice. "My son is the owner of this house. Why won't you let him in? Did that woman bribe you, doorman?" The doorman looked very flustered. "Ma'am, Ms. Miller filed a formal report for a lost deed, and a new one is being issued. Legally, at this moment, she is the only one with a right to the house." "That's ridiculous," my father-in-law shouted, hitting the counter. "Half of that house belongs to my son. Who does that Harper think she is, not letting him into his own house?" I took a deep breath, opened the door, and walked in. "Father-in-law, mother-in-law, it's been a while. How was the trip to Palm Springs? That family photo turned out beautiful." The three of them turned around in unison. Their faces were a sight to behold. Ethan's face was purple like a plum, and my mother-in-law looked like she wanted to eat me alive. "Harper?" My mother-in-law lunged at me, trying to grab my neck. "How dare you, you ungrateful woman, treat my son this way?" Mr. Griffin stepped in, blocking her path. "Ma'am, I ask you to control yourself. Assaulting someone is a crime. We are recording the entire situation." My mother-in-law's hand froze in midair. She paled and withdrew it. "Well, well, so now you're bringing lawyers to confront your in-laws," Ethan said, pushing his mother aside and grinding his teeth. "What exactly do you want?" "It's very simple." I looked him directly in the eyes. "To get a divorce and get back all the assets that belong to me." "Don't you dare dream of it," Ethan yelled. "My name is on the deed too. Don't think you're going to keep it all." "Oh, really?" I pulled a folder from my bag. "This is the original registration. The house is a tenancy in common. My share is 70% and yours is 30%. It's clearly specified. The document you falsified is already a crime." Ethan's face turned white. "It's a lie." "And that's not all," I continued to press. "You forged my signature on a mortgage contract and transferred $330,000 to your mistress. All of these are serious causes for divorce.
According to the law, not only would you not be entitled to any part of the house, but you might have to pay me compensation. My mother-in-law couldn't take it anymore. That's impossible. My son has been supporting you for years, and this is how you repay him, biting the hand that feed you? Supporting me? I almost laughed. Mother-in-law, for 3 years we had separate accounts. The mortgage on the house, the electric, the water, the HOA fees. I paid for it all by myself. Your son gave me $100 a month for expenses, an amount that didn't even cover his own food. My mother-in-law was speechless. My father-in-law looked at me with narrowed eyes. Harper, we're family. There's no need to go to these extremes. Ethan made a mistake, but you haven't done things right either. A man can make a small mistake once in a while. A small mistake? I interrupted him. Falsifying documents is a small mistake? Dissipating assets is a small mistake? Taking your mistress on a trip, passing her off as your wife is a small mistake? Ethan suddenly lunged forward, trying to snatch the folder from me, but Mr. Griffin stopped him. He looked like a cornered beast. Harper, don't pressure me. I know a lot of people. I could make it so you can't find a job in all LA. Threatening the opposing party, Mr. Griffin said calmly, pressing the record button on his phone. Mr. Black, this recording will be a very damaging evidence against you. Ethan finally realized the gravity of the situation. His attitude changed 180 degrees. Harper, honey, I'm so sorry. I was wrong, truly. Give me one more chance. I'll leave Natalie. From now on, I'll do whatever you say. Seeing him cry only filled me with disgust. There was a time that same expression of helplessness would soften my heart, and I would forgive his betrayals and lies again and again. It's too late, Ethan, I said calmly. I've given you too many chances. Now I just want to end this marriage as quickly as possible. In your dreams, Ethan yelled. I'll drag this lawsuit out as long as I can. Let's see who gives up first. 3 years? 5 years? That's not up to you to decide, Mr. Griffin said, holding out another folder. This is the evidence Ms. Miller has collected about your cohabitation with Ms. Natalie. It includes bank transfers, intimate photos, and conversations. If this is presented to the court, not only will the divorce process be accelerated, but you may also have to pay compensation for emotional distress. Ethan collapsed into a chair like a deflated balloon. My mother-in-law tried to say something more, but my father-in-law stopped her. Both of them finally realized that their precious son had hit a concrete wall. I'll give you 3 days, I said, standing up. If you agree to a mutual divorce, the house is mine and the rest of the assets will be divided according to the law. If you want to continue with the lawsuit, we'll see each other in court, but be prepared to face all the legal consequences. As I left the doorman's booth, I sighed in relief. The sun warmed my face. My phone rang. An email from Maya. The attached file was a job offer for the position of marketing director in the Singapore office. The salary was 3 times what I was currently making. Have you made a decision yet? Mr. Griffin asked. I nodded. As soon as I sort things out here, I'm going to Singapore to start a new life. That's a smart decision, Mr. Griffin smiled, but Ethan won't give up easily. Next time, he might resort to even lower tactics.
I'll be ready for him, I said, looking at the house in the distance. It was once my home, but now it was nothing more than a cold building. This time, I wasn't going to back down. 3 days later, Ethan, as expected, didn't sign the papers. Instead, he launched a smear campaign. First, his relatives called me one after another to convince me to stay. Then he posted a tearful message on Facebook, insinuating that I had left him for a richer, more successful man. Finally, he showed up at my company and filed a complaint with HR accusing me of immoral conduct. Luckily, I was prepared. When HR called me, I presented my letter of resignation and the job offer from the Singapore company.
At the same time, Maya helped me publish a statement on several news portals, clarifying the truth and attaching some of the evidence of Ethan's infidelity and falsification of documents. Public opinion turned instantly. Ethan's social media pages were flooded with comments from indignant internet users. The location of Natalie's workplace was even leaked. They became the talk of the town. The most surprising thing was that a particularly motivated internet user discovered that Natalie was dating 3 men at the same time. Ethan became the laughingstock of the entire county. "This time he's really done for," Maya said with satisfaction. But we underestimated Ethan's audacity. One rainy night, he broke into the house where I was finishing up packing my things with his brother, Landon. He threatened to kill me if I didn't drop the lawsuit. "Harper," Ethan reeked of alcohol and his eyes were bloodshot, "you've ruined my life, so I'm going to ruin yours." Landon raised his phone and started recording. "Sister-in-law, you'd better drop the lawsuit. If not, this video of your reconciliation with my brother will go viral tomorrow." I understood their plan instantly. They wanted to fake a forced reconciliation, maybe even assault me. My heart was pounding, but I kept my composure. "Ethan, do you know this is a crime?" "A crime?" Ethan scoffed. "What crime can there be between a husband and a wife? I'll tell you what, after tonight, whether you drop the lawsuit or not, you're finished." The moment he lunged at me, I pressed the panic button I had in my pocket. A piercing alarm sounded, and at the same time, 2 of my former coworkers who were on guard in the next house over broke down the door and pinned the Black brothers to the floor. "The police are on their way," I said, looking coldly at Ethan, who was immobilized on the ground. "This time with trespassing and attempted assault. You'll be in jail for a long time." Ethan's face turned ashen, and Landon started to cry and plead. "Harper, it was my brother's idea. Please forgive us." In the distance, the police siren was getting closer. I knew the charade was finally over. Ethan's last and most desperate attempt had given me the opportunity to get rid of him forever. As the police were putting the handcuffs on him, he suddenly turned to me and asked, "Harper, did you ever love me?" I was silent for a moment and then answered sincerely, "Yes, but now I feel nothing but contempt." The police car drove away and the rain stopped. I stood at the door of the house, looking at the place filled with so many memories. I felt strangely at peace. Tomorrow, I would officially put the house up for sale. Next week, the first divorce hearing would take place, and in a month, I would be in Singapore, starting a completely new life. My phone rang. A text message from my mom. "Honey, I made your favorite stew. Come have dinner." I smiled and replied, "Of course, Mom, I'm on my way." A star shone in the night sky. I knew it was my guide, showing me the way forward. The day before the first divorce hearing, I received a call from the police. Ethan, during his trip to Palm Springs, had used the falsified deed to get a loan of $120,000 from a small financial company. Now the company had discovered the forgery and had reported him. "Ms. Miller, you are one of the victims in this case. We need your cooperation in the investigation." The officer's voice was serious and respectful. I hung up and immediately called Mr. Griffin. When he heard about it too, he couldn't help but laugh. That jailbird has dug his own grave. With a falsification of a public document of that amount, he faces a prison sentence of at least 3 years. "Prison?" I asked. "It's very likely," Mr. Griffin said with certainty, "and this benefits us immensely in the divorce trial. The judge will recognize Ethan's serious culpability, and the division of assets will undoubtedly be in my favor." I should have been happy, but I felt a strange mixture of emotions. It was ironic that 3 years of marriage would end this way. On the day of the trial, the courtroom was filled with journalists. Since my story had gone viral, the case had become a topic of media interest. Someone even created the hashtag #StandStrongHarper. Ethan arrived late, accompanied by his parents and his lawyer. In just 2 weeks, he seemed to have aged 10 years. His eyes were sunken and his face was ashen. When he saw me, a flash of resentment crossed his gaze, but it was quickly replaced by fear. He knew he was facing not only divorce, but also criminal charges. The trial was surprisingly quick. Ethan's lawyer tried to argue that the money transfers were simply gifts between friends, and Natalie was a distant cousin. But when the judge saw the intimate photos and explicit conversations, even the lawyer was speechless. Regarding the falsification of the deed and the signature on the mortgage contract, Ethan's defense had nothing to say. When the judge asked Ethan why he had done it, his answer stunned the entire room. My brother was getting married, and his fiancé's family wasn't contributing anything. I just wanted to help my family a little. And for that, you falsified documents, a signature, and dissipated marital assets? The judge asked severely. Were you aware of the legal consequences of your actions? Ethan lowered his head and said nothing. His mother in the courtroom broke down crying until a bailiff escorted her out. In a distance, Ethan suddenly approached me. Harper, for the 3 years we were married, couldn't you drop the lawsuit? I'll give you back the house. I don't want the money. It's too late, Ethan. I looked at him calmly. I gave you a chance. You chose the worst path yourself. You want to destroy me? He yelled, his eyes bloodshot. If I go to jail, my life will be over. You brought this on yourself, I said. I turned around and stopped looking at him. The final verdict far exceeded my expectations. The judge granted the divorce. The house was fully awarded to me. Ethan was ordered to return the $330,000 transferred to Natalie. 70% of the savings in Ethan's name were awarded to me as compensation for damages. In addition, Ethan had to pay my legal fees and court costs. As the judge read the verdict, Ethan's face turned ashen, and his mother in the courtroom fainted. The journalists' cameras flashed non-stop. In a shower of flashes, the miserable sight of the Black family was immortalized forever. As I left the courthouse, the sunlight was dazzling. Mr. Griffin patted me on the shoulder. "Congratulations, Miss Miller. Justice has been served." "Thank you, counselor," I said sincerely. "Without your help, I couldn't have won so overwhelmingly."
What are your plans now? What will you do with the house? I'll sell it, I said without hesitation. I've already put it in the hands of a real estate agency. Next week, I'm going to Singapore to start my new job as a marketing director. That's a smart decision. Oh, do you plan to proceed with the criminal case against Mr. Black? I thought for a moment. I don't want to have any more dealings with him. If he admits his guilt and returns the assets, I can drop the charges, but what the law decides is up to the law. Understood. I'll take care of the rest of the paperwork, Mr. Griffin said as he bid me farewell. I wish you the best in your new life in Singapore. When I returned to the apartment I had temporarily rented, I started packing. 3 years of marriage, and in the end, I was only taking 2 suitcases with me. My phone kept ringing with congratulatory messages from my friends. I thanked everyone and turned off my phone. I enjoyed that rare moment of silence. That night, Maya came to celebrate with a bottle of champagne. Wow, that scumbag Ethan is broke. What satisfaction! We toasted. The bubbles dissolved on my tongue with a sweet taste. Suddenly, Maya became serious. Honestly, Harper, for these 3 years, my biggest worry has been you. I saw how you were losing yourself, how you were no longer the person you used to be. I know, I gripped my glass. Sometimes I wonder how I could have been so stupid. There were so many signs. Why did I insist on ignoring them? Because of love, silly, Maya sighed. Love is blind, but luckily you finally woke up. The next morning, I received a call from the real estate agency. The house had sold for $1,250,000, $100,000 above the market price. The buyer was a single mother who liked the proximity to schools and the style of the renovation. The buyer wants to close as soon as possible. Would that work for you? The agent asked cautiously. No problem. We can do the paperwork tomorrow.
As I hung up, I felt a great sense of relief. That house, full of bad memories, was finally going to be a part of my past. The signing of the deed was very quick. After I signed the last document, the buyer, an elegant middle-aged woman, took my hand. "Harper, I've seen the news. You're very brave. This house in my hands will be filled with love and laughter." My eyes welled up a little. "Thank you. That's exactly what this house needed." As I left the notary's office, I decided to go back to the house one last time. The new owner was moving in the next day, so no one would be there now. I pushed the familiar door open and walked in. In the empty rooms, only my footsteps echoed. The sun streamed through the large windows, painting golden stripes on the floor. I walked through the room slowly. Memories came to me like a tide. The living room, where Ethan had thrown the table because he didn't like the food I had made. The office, where he spent whole nights working, when in reality he was on video calls with Natalie. The bedroom, where, sometimes drunk, he would force me to fulfill my marital duties. But there were also good times. The kitchen, where I once prepared a big party for my parents. The patio, where I drank wine with my friends and we talked until the early hours of the morning. The garden, where the roses I planted bloomed every year. "Goodbye," I said in a low voice, closing the door softly. This time, I didn't look back. As I left the community, I ran into Landon, Ethan's brother, at the entrance. He looked gaunt. When he saw me, he was surprised and then ran towards me. "Sister-in-law? Harper? Could you lend me some money? My brother has been arrested, my fiancé's family broke the engagement, and my mom is in the hospital with high blood pressure." I couldn't believe my ears. The Black family still had the nerve to ask me for money? "Landon," I said calmly, "do you know that your brother forged my signature to mortgage the house to buy that condo for you two?" His expression changed. I didn't know where the money came from." "You and your family are incredible," I said sarcastically. "That your brother is in jail, that your mom is in the hospital, and that your wedding was canceled is karma. I suggest you worry about your own problems." With that, I turned and left. Landon, behind me, yelled in rage, "Harper, you're a cold and ruthless woman. My brother was blind to marry someone like you." I didn't turn around. I just waved my hand in a final farewell. Back at the apartment, I finished packing. The HR department of the Singapore company had sent me a welcome guide and tips for finding accommodation. Isla had also prepared a detailed list of things I would need. A new life was calling me, a life bright and full of hope. That night, my mom video called me. My dad next to her kept asking questions. They insisted on accompanying me to Singapore, but I refused. "Mom, Dad, I'm not a child anymore," I said, laughing. "Besides, Singapore is an incredible country. You don't have to worry about a thing." "You'll always be our little girl," my mom said, wiping away a tear. "You're going so far away. Please take good care of yourself." "I will," I reassured her. "And these days, with how easy it is to travel, you can come and visit me whenever you want." I hung up and stood by the window looking out at the city where I had lived for almost 10 years. Under the neon lights, how many stories of love and heartbreak were unfolding. Mine was just one more. My phone rang again. It was Maya. "Harper, I just got a call from the courthouse. That scumbag Ethan confessed. The prosecutor is asking for 3 years for him. His lawyer told me he wants to see you one last time." "No," I said firmly. "I have nothing else to talk to him about." "I know," Maya laughed. "You have your tickets. Do you want me to come with you to the airport tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon?" "You don't have to come. You know I hate goodbyes. Have a good trip." Suddenly, Maya's voice cracked. "Call me often, and don't forget your friends when you get a new boyfriend." "What are you talking about? You're my best friend." A lump formed in my throat. "As soon as I get settled, I'll invite you to Singapore." The night went on. I finished packing the last suitcase. I turned off the light and laid in bed. Tomorrow, at this time, I'd be 30,000 feet high, flying towards a completely new life.
I closed my eyes, and the memories of the last 3 years passed before me like a slow-motion movie. Pain, betrayal, struggle, awakening. In the end, it all became the force that propelled me to grow. I remembered a quote I had read somewhere. There are paths you must walk alone, tears you must wipe yourself, and pains you must endure in solitude. But when you overcome all that, you will find a better version of yourself. Tomorrow, the sun would rise again, and I would no longer be the Harper who put up with humiliation. Changi Airport, Singapore, a bustling hive of people. I pushed my luggage cart, and as I walked out, I saw Isla holding a sign with my name on it. We hadn't seen each other in 3 years. She had short hair and an elegant business suit. She looked even more determined than in our UK days. "Harper!" She ran to hug me enthusiastically. "Welcome to your new life." Isla helped me settle into an apartment near the office and invited me to try authentic bak kut teh. At the table, she cautiously asked about my divorce. I summarized it for her briefly. "What a jerk! He should rot in jail."
I smiled and shook my head. What's in the past is in the past. Now I just want to look forward. The new job was a challenge, but very stimulating. As the marketing director for the Asia-Pacific region, I was responsible for brand promotion in several countries. The busy routine didn't leave me time to think about the past. Every day was full and meaningful. A month later, I received an email from Mr. Griffin. Ethan had been sentenced to 3 years in prison for falsification of a public document and fraud. At the same time, the court had executed the divorce decree. The savings in Ethan's name were transferred to my account. Natalie was also ordered to return part of the money. The email included a clipping from the crime section of a national newspaper with the headline, "Wife's Blitz Divorce After Husband's Deed Forgery Scam." In the photo, Ethan was surrounded by journalists, looking pathetic. I calmly closed the email. I felt nothing. On the weekend, I attended a yacht party in Marina Bay organized by the company. The night view of Singapore was a spectacle of lights. My coworkers were toasting cheerfully. Jackson, the senior marketing director, approached me with a glass of champagne. "Harper, I heard you left an important position in LA to come to Singapore. You are very brave." I smiled without saying anything. He didn't know I hadn't come for my career, but to escape a past I didn't want to go back to. 3 months passed, and I had fully adapted to the pace of life in Singapore. The work was going smoothly, and I had made new friends. Sometimes I would post photos of Singaporean food and landscapes on Instagram. Maya was always the first to like and comment. "I'm so jealous." One Tuesday morning, while I was preparing the quarterly report, my phone rang. An unknown number with an LA area code. "Hello?" I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Is this Harper Miller?" a weak female voice said. My phone almost fell from my hand. It was my ex-mother-in-law. How had she gotten my new number? "I'm Ethan's mother." "What do you want?" I asked coldly. "Harper?" Her voice cracked. "I was wrong. Everything that happened was my fault. Please forgive my Ethan. He's already been sick twice in jail. The doctor says if he keeps going like this—" "Ma'am," I interrupted her. "First, you are not my mother. Second, if Ethan is in jail, it's because he brought it on himself. And finally, don't contact me again." "How can you be so cruel?" Her voice became shrill. "You were husband and wife. How can you stand by and do nothing while he's dying in jail?" "If he's really sick, the prison has its own medical services," I said calmly, "and my lawyer will send you a formal notice for harassment." I hung up and immediately called Mr. Griffin. He was also surprised that my ex-mother-in-law had gotten my new number and promised to investigate the source and take legal action. This incident was like a small stone thrown into a calm lake. It created some ripples, and then everything returned to tranquility.
2 weeks later, I received a message from an unknown person on LinkedIn. Dear Harper Miller, I'm Iris Jones, head of HR for the XG Group. I've heard you've been very successful in Singapore. I've taken the liberty of contacting you. We're currently looking for a marketing director with international experience. I was wondering if you'd be interested in coming back to the US to continue your career. The XG Group was a giant in the industry in the US. The position of marketing director had always been my goal, but to go back, I wasn't ready to face that place full of painful memories. I replied courteously, "Thank you for reaching out. I am very satisfied with my current job and have no plans to change in the short term." Iris responded quickly, "I understand, but it's a unique opportunity. A salary of $250,000 annually, stock options, and reporting directly to the CEO. If you change your mind, don't hesitate to contact me." $250,000, double my current salary. I stared at the message for a long time. In the end, I didn't delete it. Time flew, and I had been in Singapore for 6 months. During that time, my team managed to close 2 major contracts. The CEO publicly congratulated me at the annual meeting. Isla, saying I was the fastest adapting foreign employee, even encouraged me to apply for permanent residency. But the offer to return to the US kept nagging at me. It wasn't about the position itself, but because I suddenly realized I was running away from the place where Ethan was, where the painful memories were, running away from the weak person I had been in the past. One weekend, I went to Sentosa Island by myself. Sitting on the white sand, looking at the blue ocean, I suddenly understood that true detachment isn't running, but having the ability to face things and still choose to not look back. That night, I wrote to Iris, expressing my interest in talking more. At the same time, I contacted Mr. Griffin to ask if, in case I returned, Ethan and his family could harass me. Mr. Black is still serving his sentence. He has at least 2 years left before he gets out. His parents, after my firm's warning, won't dare to bother you. Besides, your reputation in the US is very good. Many women consider you an example of a woman fighting against domestic abuse. An example? I smiled bitterly. I was just a normal woman who, when cornered, had fought back. The interviews with the XG Group went very well. After a video interview, they even offered to arrange an in-person meeting in Singapore. The president of the Asia-Pacific region had dinner with me and explained the company's expansion plans in detail. "Miss Miller, we're deeply impressed with your background, not just for your professional ability, but for the strength and courage you have shown. Those are the fundamental values of our company culture." So, after 8 months in Singapore, I decided to return. Isla, although saddened, understood my choice. Follow your heart. Singapore will always be here for you. The resignation process was quick. The CEO tried to keep me, offering me a 30% raise, but I refused. It wasn't about the money. I needed to complete my own ritual of redemption, to return to the place that had hurt me, and with my head up high, start a new life. A week before I returned, I received a message from Maya with some juicy news. "Natalie cheated on your ex-husband. She went to a halfway house and got together with another inmate's family member. They teamed up and fleeced Ethan out of what little he had left and then fled." I should have felt satisfied, but I felt a strange melancholy. Ethan, who had calculated so much, had ultimately been betrayed by everyone. Was that karma? The plane landed at Los Angeles International Airport. It was October, in the middle of fall. Through the window, I saw the blue sky and yellow leaves. It was a breathtaking beauty. While waiting for my luggage, my phone buzzed. A welcome message from Iris. At the end, she added a sentence. "Oh, there's a welcome party at the company tomorrow night. The CEO wants to take the opportunity to introduce you to the team. Will you be available?" I replied in the affirmative and took a deep breath. I pushed my cart and walked out the arrivals gate. The sun filtering through the glass dome warmed my face. "Harper, welcome home," I told myself. The welcome party for the XG group was held in a restaurant on the 80th floor of a skyscraper in downtown LA. I chose a dark red pantsuit, professional but not without a touch of celebration. "Director Miller, I've heard a lot about your case. It was a case study in my MBA class." I smiled and thanked him, a little surprised inside. My divorce, a case study in a business school. As the party began, I understood why. Mr. Johnson's wife, an elegant and intellectual woman, approached me. "Harper, I'm Claudia Thompson, a law professor at UCLA. I also direct the Center for
Women's Rights Studies. Your case is a perfect example of how an educated woman can use the law as a weapon to protect herself." "I'm flattered, but I think you're exaggerating," I said, a little overwhelmed. At the time, I just reacted instinctively when I was cornered. Precisely that instinct is what deserves to be studied. The professor's eyes sparkled with intelligence. Too many women in similar situations choose to endure, but you demonstrated with your actions that the law is an effective weapon to protect our rights. Midway through the party, a middle-aged man in a suit approached me and introduced himself. "Director Miller, a pleasure. I'm the group's legal advisor. I've heard wonderful things about you." As we exchanged a few words, a young woman timidly joined us. "Excuse me, are you Director Harper Miller?" She introduced herself as an intern in the marketing department and told me that my story had given her the courage to leave a toxic relationship. "Seeing you now gives me the faith to believe that I can also start over." Her eyes were filled with tears. In that moment, I suddenly felt that my story could have a real meaning. It wasn't just my personal story, but that of many women who suffered in unhappy marriages. At the end of the party, Mr. Johnson arranged for a car to take me to the hotel. In the car, he handed me a folder. "Director, this is the invitation for the Forward to Europe Business Forum next month. The group has decided that you will represent us and give the opening speech." I opened it. It was the most important forum in the industry. Normally, only executives at the vice president level and above attended. "I don't think I have enough experience." "Don't be modest," Mr. Johnson laughed. "Your results at the Singapore office are undeniable. Besides," he added with a meaningful tone, "your personal experience fits perfectly with this year's forum theme, the reinvention of leadership in times of change." Back at the hotel, I couldn't sleep. Through the window, I saw the spectacular LA night, a different kind of splendor than Singapore's. In just 1 year, my life had completely changed, from being a disrespected wife to a senior executive at a multinational company, from being a victim who put up with humiliation to being an example who inspired others. My phone buzzed. A message from Maya. "How's it going? First day back and you're already a star? Let's get together tomorrow." I replied with a smiling emoji. "Of course, I have 1,000 things to tell you." The next day, I met Maya for lunch at a quiet cafe. As soon as she saw me, she hugged me tightly. "Wow, Director, that charisma is noticeable from 100 feet away." I laughed and gently hit her shoulder. "Stop with the nonsense and tell me how your promotion to partner is going." "Don't even get me started," Maya waved her hand. "The old-timers still say I'm too young. But," she lowered her voice conspiratorially, "I just landed a big case. Ethan's mother sued Natalie for the restitution of assets." "What?" I almost spit out my coffee. What kind of soap opera is this now? It turned out that my ex-mother-in-law was claiming that Natalie had scammed Ethan and was demanding the return of a total of $500,000 in donations. Natalie, on her part, was claiming that it was compensation for her lost youth. The two women put on a show in court, the mother-in-law calling Natalie a gold digger and Natalie replying that she hadn't known how to raise her son. The judge was completely shocked, Maya recounted amused. I shook my head. I didn't want to know any more about that farce. Ethan and his disastrous life no longer had anything to do with me.
"Oh," Maya said, suddenly becoming serious, "I have something important to tell you. Ethan might get out of jail 6 months early for good behavior. He could be out next month." She looked at me with concern. "Will it affect your decision to come back and thrive here?" I thought for a moment and shook my head. "No, LA is very big. It's not easy for us to run into each other. Besides, the Harper of now is no longer the one who lets herself be walked all over." "That's the Harper I know," Maya raised her glass, "to your new life." The following days were a whirlwind. I officially took control of the marketing team and began to build my own team. I revised the speech for the Forward to Europe Business Forum over and over until it was perfect. The day of the forum, I chose a royal blue tailored suit, professional but not without femininity. Standing in front of the mirror, I almost didn't recognize the person looking back at me, confident, imposing, with a look full of conviction. Next, on the topic of the reinvention of leadership in crisis, please welcome the marketing director of the XG Group, Harper Miller. Amid applause, I walked up to the podium. Under the spotlights, I couldn't see the faces of the audience very well, but that comforted me. A year ago, I found myself in the biggest crisis of my life. My marriage had broken down, my trust had crumbled, and my own value had been completely denied. I shared how in the midst of that crisis, I had rediscovered myself, how I had transformed pain into strength to grow. At the end of my speech, I said, "True leadership doesn't lie in controlling others, but in controlling our own lives. When we have the courage to face our deepest fears, we discover our greatest strength." Thank you. The entire auditorium stood up and applauded. Afterwards, attendees surrounded me to exchange business cards. Among them were heavyweights in the industry. Mr. Johnson in the distance gave me a thumbs up. His face reflected the joy of having discovered a treasure. In the car back to the company, I received a message from an unknown number. "Harper, I got out of jail. I heard you're doing very well. Congratulations. Could we see each other one more time? I have so many things to tell you." It was Ethan. My fingers hesitated over the screen. Finally, I deleted the message and blocked the number. There is no need to retrace our steps or reconnect with the people we left behind. The video of my speech at the forum went viral and brought me some unexpected opportunities. First, interview requests from several economic magazines, then an invitation to participate as a commentator on a television show. Finally, a publishing house contacted me to propose writing a book about female leadership. "Director, you've become the company's star," my young assistant said, smiling. "Reception says you've been receiving a lot of flowers from admirers lately." I shook my head and asked her to tell the reception to reject all gifts from unknown sources. Fame is a double-edged sword, and I knew that very well. One Friday afternoon, when I was reviewing the quarterly report, Iris knocked on my door. "Director, next month is International Women's Day. The Federation of Women in Business has invited you as a representative of successful women to give a speech at a high-level forum. The CEO has already given his approval. Take a look." I received an invitation with golden borders. It clearly read, "The Growth and Empowerment of Women in the New Era." On the list of invited speakers were famous businesswomen, academics, and artists. My name was among them. "Don't you think this is too much for me?" I said, a little worried. "Don't be modest," Iris patted my shoulder. "Director, do you know what they call you online? Derousing Queen, the modern Joan of Arc. Your story has inspired countless women." That night, I video called my parents to give them the good news. My mom was so emotional she kept crying, and my dad proudly said he would tell the whole family to watch the live broadcast. "Harper," my mom said suddenly, lowering her voice, "that Ethan fellow came to the house a few days ago." My smile froze. What did he want?
"He said he came to apologize," my dad continued. "The truth is he looks very gaunt and much more polite. He said he knew he was wrong, that he didn't expect you to forgive him, but that he would like to have the opportunity to make it up to you." "Mom, Dad, you didn't give him my number, did you?" "Of course not," my mom hurried to say. "Your dad almost chased him out with a broom." I sighed in relief and asked them to please not receive him again.
I hung up and stood by the window, looking at the lights of LA. The appearance of Ethan had been like a small stone thrown into the calm of my heart, but the ripples quickly dissipated. The Women's Day Forum was held with great fanfare at the Los Angeles Convention Center. I prepared a speech titled The Path of Personal Reinvention for Women, from the Home to the Professional World. I shared how I had left a toxic relationship and reclaimed my own worth. When we give others the right to define us, we lose our most precious freedom, and true empowerment begins with reclaiming that right. My voice resonated in the hall. Divorce is not terrible. What's terrible is not having the ability to divorce. Being single is not terrible. What's terrible is not having the ability to live alone. The audience erupted in thunderous applause. I saw many women with teary eyes, including my mom. She and my dad had come to LA especially to attend the forum. Afterwards, a white-haired woman accompanied by an assistant approached me. I recognized her as a famous businesswoman. "Harper, what a great speech!" She took my hand affectionately. "Sincere stories always have the greatest power. I hope you continue to raise your voice for women." Emotionally, I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. The photographer's flashes went off non-stop, immortalizing the moment. That night, the photo was on the front page of the major business newspapers. At the reception after the forum, I received countless business cards and collaboration proposals. I was a little tired of greeting so many people when a familiar figure appeared at the ballroom door. It was Ethan. He was wearing a suit that didn't fit him well and holding a bouquet of flowers, trying to sneak into the event. Security stopped him and a scuffle ensued. I hesitated for a moment and then walked over. "Harper," Ethan's eyes lit up when he saw me. "I just wanted to congratulate you in person. You look stunning." He had lost a lot of weight and had deep dark circles under his eyes. There was nothing left of his former poise. The bouquet of flowers he was carrying was cheap and looked pathetic. "Ethan," I said calmly, "please leave." "I know I don't have the right to see you," his voice cracked. "I was really wrong. Natalie ran away with all my money. My mom had a heart attack from the shock and is in the hospital, and I've lost my job. It's my karma." Seeing him cry didn't evoke any emotion in me. The wound of the past was so deep that I no longer had the strength to even hate him. "Let's leave the past behind," I said. "I wish you the best, but don't come looking for me again." Ethan suddenly knelt. "Give me one more chance." "Security," I turned and called, "please escort this gentleman out." 2 security guards grabbed Ethan by the arms and dragged him outside. He struggled, yelling as he turned to look at me. "Harper, you're a ruthless woman after all we've been through." Everyone in the ballroom turned to look and whispered. I composed myself, raised my head, and returned to the event. My mom greeted me with a worried look. I hugged her gently. "Mom, I'm fine." After that night, Ethan never appeared in my life again. Some said he had gone to the South to work in construction, others that he had gone back to his hometown to take care of his sick mother. Whatever the case, it was no longer my business. The success of the forum continued for some time. My followers on LinkedIn skyrocketed, and every day I received hundreds of inquiries and collaboration proposals. The company took the opportunity to appoint me director of the newly created Center for the Development of Female Leadership and granted me an additional package of stock options. With the arrival of spring, I bought an apartment in LA. The day of the signing, I made sure the deed was solely in my name. In the empty apartment, I made a video call to Maya to toast virtually. "Wow, director, now you're a true winner," Maya said on the other side of the screen, biting into an apple. "But what about love? Any news?" "My work is my love," I laughed, changing the subject. "Hey, and your promotion to partner?" "Thanks to you, I got it," Maya raised her glass triumphantly. "Now the old-timers at the firm call me counselor with all due respect." We toasted through the screen, celebrating our respective successes. I hung up and went out on the balcony. The April air of LA was filled with the scent of lilacs. In the distance, the skyscrapers of downtown could be seen. The lights shone like a galaxy. A year ago, I was still the Harper trapped in an unhappy marriage. Today, I had transformed into a butterfly, living a life I had never dared to dream of before. My phone rang, an email from the editor of the publishing house. He had sent me the revised manuscript. My memoirs, titled Rebirth, were about to be published at the end of the year. The editor suggested I add a chapter on how to build healthy relationships, because, he wrote in the email, many readers will wonder if after everything you've been through, you still believe in love. I sat at the desk, opened my laptop, and on a blank page I wrote a line. I believe in love, but I believe more in myself. True security never comes from another's promise, but from self-confidence. Outside, a crescent moon rose silently, painting the world with a soft silver light. Tomorrow would be a new day, and I was ready to face it, stronger and wiser than ever before.